Braden Peters, who you probably know as Clavicular, is a 21-year-old American streamer and influencer known for his looksmaxing content. Now, for those who aren't chronically online, looksmaxing is a subculture focused on trying to enhance your physical features with the goal of becoming as attractive as possible, often using some pretty extreme methods. He blew up in late 2025 through live streams on platforms like Kick and TikTok and has over 180,000 followers, amassing millions of views, and is known for not only admitting and encouraging the insane lengths he goes to be attractive, but his use of absurd language is so crazy that honestly, if a Victorian child were to spawn into one of his live streams, they would genuinely think they're experiencing some form of spiritual psychosis. I actually find it very hard to take the man seriously, which is why I was kind of putting off doing a video on him for quite a long time. Having said that, the reason I decided to finally talk about him is because although I find him utterly pathetic, I recognise I'm not his intended audience, and when you consider the fact that his audience are mainly young teenage boys, that's when it starts to become a little problematic. Now, Clavicular, I can't even genuinely sit here and seriously call him Clavicular, but that's his name. Clavicular's philosophy can pretty much be boiled down to pretty privilege. He believes that people should put more attention and more focus into their appearance than any other quality, because he thinks that your appearance can open doors that nothing else can. Not only is this kind of content and ideology shallow and nihilistic, but it's reaching young boys in a landscape where men profess their concerns for the so-called male loneliness epidemic. And yet again, we're left wondering, why is it that these idiot influencers keep becoming the idols of so many young boys, when all they're doing is driving them to become lonelier, more insecure, and more misguided than ever? I draw many similarities to the looksmaxing community, often harboring a young, insecure male audience, with the pro-Anna community egging on young girls to be the skinniest possible version of themselves. And in an era where youth is more digitalized than ever, what might seem just like another idiotic side of the internet, it is having an influence, and we really need to consider the type of impact that this is going to be having on many young boys. It's especially worth discussing when we consider that this particular looksmaxing content has very, very strong connotations with the incel community. So because Clavicular's content is primarily long-form live streams, there are so much content to sift through. So the other day I spent some time and I made a list, and I've cultivated a collection of some of his most viral moments that we're going to talk about, starting off talking about bone smashing, which was one of Clavicular's methods in said looksmaxing, which intends to smash bones in your face to then have them be rebuilt stronger, I guess giving you a more chiseled, defined look.
There's a thing called bone smashing. Now, this is the bit that I find concerning. This is a dangerous and pretty discontinued and discouraged practice of actually hitting bones in your face to create a more chiseled look. Have you done this, and do you encourage people to do it?
Yeah, so I have done this. This is something that was part of my routine for years and still is. The problem is there is sort of a barrier to entry to all this stuff that comes with just, intelligence, right? So if you tell people about bone smashing and they're super low IQ, they might, hit themselves in the eye and cause a lot of trauma or, severe harm to themselves. So these are things that could be very dangerous if, done improperly, but also things that can have a lot of benefit. And this is always the nuance that I give. So it's sort of a double-edged sword on whether or not I recommend it. It's like, if done properly, with the proper precautions, it can be a good thing, and it will be a good thing, but there is a lot of risk involved.
See, I just don't think smashing your face up is a good thing to be encouraging anyone to do.
Okay, well, tell me why not.
Because I think the obvious potential downside massively outweighs any potential upside.
Like what?
Okay, well, first and foremost, the act of bone smashing, I would say, falls under the category of SH. Now, I can't actually say those words on YouTube, otherwise they will demonetize me. Now, saying, what risks come with that? Why is it a bad thing? I mean, altering your body in any circumstance through a painful or destructive way, purely because you're insecure, I would say falls into the category of SH. Now, saying, well, I don't necessarily encourage this because you might be low IQ and you might take it too far, you might blind yourself, but it can be done well. That's like encouraging an ED because, you know, the effects can be positive in that you can lose weight, but if you're low IQ, you'll do it wrong and take it too far, right? It's illogical. Also, his logic is flawed in saying, well, if you're low IQ, not considering the fact that the majority of people that are watching you are insecure male, young teenage boys who aren't going to see the harms. Most people, when they do something that they know there is a risk and they do it anyway, I guess they're probably thinking, oh, well, I'll just do it in a safe manner. No, it doesn't matter whether you're high IQ, low IQ, doing it in a professional setting. You should not be smashing individual bones in your face to reshape your face. What are we aiming for here? Like handsome Squidward? Like, what's the goal? It's not just the actual action of doing said thing. It's the ideology that you're pushing behind it. It's saying like it has really good results if you do this, basically perpetuating that if you do it properly, there's no issue with it. When actually it's the message you're sending. Physically harming yourself for any reason isn't a good thing. And I feel like I've picked the worst video to come chopped with no makeup on because everyone's going to comment Katie's being mogged. I hate the fact that that word came out of my mouth. Not only has he come under fire for the bone smashing, which I would say was a pretty pivotal moment in his career, purely because that's what actually I discovered him through, but he's also openly admitted that he uses and abuses steroids and substances, many of which, again, you probably shouldn't be using, and pushing that to a very insecure male fan base is definitely harmful. Like, it doesn't matter how you try and frame it. Talking about microdosing amphetamine to stay lean is outwardly terrible. Like, I don't know how this is a divisive subject. You could sit there and say, well, everybody has free will, no one's forcing people to copy him. Like, come on. That's why we always criticize influencers, because they have influence. To us, it might seem crazy, but there will be some insecure boys and teenagers out there that genuinely think like, well, I'm going to listen to this guy because he's attractive. Accutane, which is normal, okay, most people have been on Accutane before. That's not necessarily a harmful piece of advice to give. It's very good for clearing up spots, but that does have some pretty bad side effects. It's not all amazing. And also aesthetic injectables. So whether that's, I guess, Botox or filler or peptides, I don't really know. But he also came under fire for injecting his then 17-year-old girlfriend in the face with aesthetics on a live stream, which is not only dangerous, you don't have a license to be injecting people in the face. That can be very dangerous. It doesn't matter what it is. That's why you have licensed practitioners, and it's clearly just for views, right? That's the whole point. But again, the encouragement of stupid, idiotic stunts, all in the name of bettering yourself, all in the name of getting women and opportunities, is ridiculous. And by his own words, he is temporarily infertile because of all the substances that he has been abusing. And he plays this down. It's like, oh, it's no biggie. Yeah, I'm just temporarily infertile. So I'm not going to show him actually doing it. But imagine actually being in a relationship with someone that is encouraging you to looksmax. Babe, no, I promise you're really attractive. But here's this injectable that will dissolve all of that fatty fattiness in your face. It's just a terrible message to be sending. Like, I think a lot of people say this is all a character. It's not real. Like, why are you deeping it? But like, he's done well for a reason. Looksmaxing isn't new, by the way. I think the video is not on my channel anymore, but I've covered this before. Looksmaxing isn't new. It's been around for a really long time, whether it seems like a meme or it genuinely is a meme, whatever. He's actually doing these things. Like, you can sit there and say, oh, all the cringe things he says, though, he's just rage baiting. He actually smashes the bones in his face. He actually injected his girlfriend in the face. I think too often people are leaning on rage bait to make situations feel more lighthearted than they actually are. But if you actually deep this, that's pretty bad. Like, to do that for entertainment purposes too, risking, your girlfriend's health or anybody's health, doesn't matter whether you're in a relationship, by injecting them in the face when you aren't qualified. And I know a lot of people would say, well, it's not an influencer's duty, I guess, to make sure that people don't copy him. I think you would be stupid to assume that young people aren't naive enough to try things. Do you guys not remember the Tide Pod challenge when like kids actually ate Tide Pods? Like, kids are vulnerable, kids are stupid sometimes. And in this day and age where this message is being pushed, where you have to be so attractive to be able to get women, I do think it's a big deal. It's not something to be taken lightly. I think this is odd. I think it's dangerous. Like, a lot of people might disagree, but I think it's just targeting young, insecure people.
We just opted to do, which we knew was going to be more pure. So that's kind of how that started. And then you actually take a look at the science of what actually is, and it's really not too far off from just your traditional run-of-the-mill Adderall. So, Adderall is dexamphetamine, right?
Yeah, it's a
We were
derivative.
taking dextromethamphetamine. So really not that much different, just a bit longer of a half-life, because my goal was not only just for the productivity and the psychoactive benefits of amphetamine, is also for the appetite suppression.
I find it really ironic, by the way, that this is the same man that says that a lot of women aren't very intelligent and there's a limit to women's intelligence, while he actually sits there and says that because two chemicals kind of read the same, that they are at all similar. They're not. They're not similar. Like, one research will show you that. I can assure you this is not true. They aren't the same. They don't have the same harm and the same effects. There's this phenomena on the internet where, like, people will just say things with such conviction that I think a lot of people believe it. And also, by the way, taking any form of medication that isn't what they call GLP-1 is very, very mentally unwell in order to, like, restrict your diet. Like, that's not healthy, taking substances in order to stay lean. There's a word for that. Clavicular. And like, I actually feel slightly sad. A lot of people probably look at this man and they think, oh, like he's so sexy, he's so attractive. When I see him, I just see, it's almost like handsome Squidward. And then I can just see Squidward's face behind. It's like, yes, you are now conventionally attractive, but I can't see past your whole persona being based off of looksmaxing, when the looksmaxing is doing severely harmful things to yourself to achieve attractiveness. I can't see past that personally. To me, I find that deeply unattractive. I'm not saying he gives a he probably thinks I'm chopped. Like, I don't want to hear the things he'd say about me, okay? But my point is, like, I find it very counterproductive to be promoting this to young, insecure boys. When I'm telling you, if you are a young, insecure boy, like, this won't get you very far. Like, this genuinely won't get you very far. And actually, I would go as far as to say most people would see this as a little bit of a turn off. Like, chemically altering yourself, like smashing your face to rebuild it. To me, like, I question what's going on in there rather than like just looking at you as like a pretty face. That's my personal opinion. Again, he probably doesn't care. It's also worth noting that this whole thing is to promote getting women, right? That's like mainly the goal behind it. You might get women when you look like Clavicular, but a big element of it is also his social status. I mean, he's a huge influencer who approaches women on live, might I add, which is a huge other factor into influencing women, I guess, to take interest in you. That is another thing to consider when you think, well, he is actually getting women. Like, his looks are probably an element of it, but there's so much more to it than just him being attractive, therefore he gets women. Like, just think about that. Now, Clavicular has also come under fire for a multitude of racist comments, for example, saying the N-word multiple times, which he will dead-ass look you in the eye and say that that doesn't make you racist, it's just a word. Now, I don't need to tell you guys about the weight behind the N-word, nor do I need to lecture my audience about the weight behind the N-word. Like, we all know, we're all adults, we're all relatively smart. My audience is pretty smart, I will have to say, okay? So I'm not going to go into that, we all know. But I do find it ironic that he sits back and says, well, I'm not racist because it's just a word, while, like, showing and displaying a plethora of other like racist attitudes. So from singing Kanye's racist song in a like limo with Nick Fuentes and all the other absolutely like cringe red pill creators who are just genuinely pathetic, to making comments about how African Americans are less attractive than Caucasians because of ethnic features. And now a Rolling Stone writer who paid to access Clavicular's online academy reported finding a quotation godly coloring routine for non-white looksmaxers who got the quotation short end of the phenotype stick. Which, I mean, you don't have to be intelligent to realize that generalizing an entire race based off of attractiveness is racist. It's the same with the people that say that they have a preference for dating white people and saying they have a preference and they won't date black people. Like, how are you going to single out an entire race? Do you know how ludicrous that sounds? Like, imagine telling a white man, I don't date white men. I mean, don't get me wrong, there probably are people that think that, but like, what a lot of white men's reaction would be like, how are you going to generalize, is so dumb. Like, oh, I'm not racist, but I'm going to say racist things and then wonder why people call me racist.
When Auntie, who I liked, I thought Auntie was a really refreshing, woman. I thought she had a lot of good things to say. When she called me out for like saying a word, I'm going to be like, dude, like, there's not one person on this earth that's going to tell me I can't say a word.
I love it when people say this about slurs. It's like, you can say it. Like, no one's stopping you saying say it. But like, you will then get the social repercussions of it. Like, I hate it when people do this. Like, you've got, like, say it. Even in England, where, like, you can get arrested for hate speech, no one's stopping you doing it. You can say it, but then you can't cry about the repercussions. Like, her as a black woman is allowed to tell you that she feels uncomfortable with you saying the N-word. Like, I'm not even engaging in this dumbass. Like, I swear to God, they all say this. I'm not racist. You can think I'm racist if you want. Rewriting the definition of racism. You quite literally are a racist. And, you know, there's nothing more cringe, by the way, than white people, like, insisting on saying the N-word because it's just a word. Like, out of all the words in the English dictionary, you're like, oh, I have to say the N-word. To me, that makes you a racist. To most people, that makes you a racist. But furthermore, you know you've got a young audience. Why are you normalizing the N-word? Because in your, like, little pea-sized brain, you're telling people, well, I'm not saying it in a racist way, which first of all doesn't make sense. You do not know that the people who are watching your video, probably young people, are going to move with the same opinion that you claim to not be racist because you're just normalizing the N-word, which is inherently racist.
Yeah. So you think it is possible that black people can be objectively good looking?
Absolutely, yeah.
You just think it's less likely?
Not necessarily, but, you know, there's a lot of the ratios that might not favor certain people of, like, African descent, especially, like, you know, the nose and some of the, you know, chin and lip projections, like, stuff like that. You know?
What about the brain?
Well, that's a whole nother thing.
I find it really weird when, like, people like Clavicular spend such a huge portion of their time talking about people of color, like, as if it's some, like, fascination for them. You don't like black people, you don't like people of color, but you spend a huge portion of your time discussing them. Do you know how crazy it is of a question to say, do you think that there are black people who can be objectively good looking? Like, what? Are you guys okay? And I just feel like there's something so inherently evil about saying that, like, a certain race will have a harder time being deemed conventionally attractive. Like, as if, like, we aren't already aware that the conventionally attractive person is usually white with blonde hair and blue eyes. Like, that's what the beauty standard has pushed for all of this time. Like, yeah, we already know that. We're trying to move away from that. This is just, like, so gross, like, to be, when you've got, like, a child audience too. Get a life, man.
In the hood with them killers. So I can say
yeah, there's genuinely nothing else to say about that. Like, I've shown that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and explain why that's just crazy work. Now, another incident that also got my attention at the time was Clavicular hitting a man with his Cybertruck whilst claiming that it was self-defense. But as he hit them, the person in the passenger seat said, "Are they dead?" And he says, "I don't know, hopefully."
PR maxing? No, seriously, boys.
No,
hey, yeah, seriously, it's not good. It's not good. I don't cherish and anyone getting, you know, hurt, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, you know. But anyway, chat. Anyway.
And that's his response. Now, obviously, it doesn't take a genius to realise that he's taking the piss. There's not a sincere bone in that man's body. But the reason I brought this up isn't because, like, there's not really much to say about it, is there? Because it's, like, objectively just terrible. But I bring it up because of his reaction. Now, I don't know many people who would hit somebody with their car, first of all, but then say, basically, yeah, I don't care. Like, it is, like, he does not care. And it's genuinely a little bit psychopathic. Like, it makes me wonder, I mean, what do we expect from someone who, like, physically smashes the bones in his face to become more chiseled, all in the name of greater opportunities? Okay, I don't know what we expected, but I think it's just a good clip to include, or a good thing to talk about, because I think it kind of perfectly encapsulates this man as a selfish freakazoid. Now, in the next part of my video, I wanted to talk about the undeniable link between looksmaxing content and the incel community. Now, it might feel like a reach, and people often deny the fact that incel culture leaks into mainstream media as they view the manosphere as some extreme corner of the internet. Now, a book I actually recommend is called Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates. She encapsulates perfectly how incel culture is often not taken seriously, as many people will claim that it's an extreme part of the internet, therefore not worth really talking or worrying about. The reality is, the manosphere and incel ideologies are just a symptom of misogyny. It is very real, and with creators such as HS Tiki Myron Gaines, and now Clavicular gaining notoriety, we are seeing an ever-increasing normalization of misogyny, not only becoming widely accepted, but grossly normalized.
Do you know what we have to start doing instead of pred catching? We have to catch, like, you know what I mean, who are down, and we'll make them call their fathers. Be like, your daughter was just about to have a one-night stand with a random guy she met on the internet 15 minutes.
Yes. What better use of your time? Rather than actually catching predators who are looking to harm children, let's take our time just setting up women, acting like I'm interested in sleeping with them, because bear in mind, that's a big part of his content, and then joking about calling their dad. Like, so mature. Again, yes, it's clickbait material, that's the entire point. But again, his use of calling women tells me everything I need to know. Like, answer me this then, Clavicular. Why you put so much effort into your appearance in attempt to get women and, you know, have more opportunities, if when you get to a point where you have access to have relations with women, you call those women that are likely to take interest in you? I'm trying not to, like, because I can already hear the comments of people being like, Katie, like, you're falling for rage bait. I'm sick of rage bait being used as an excuse to use disgusting, like, derogatory language or just to be a bit of a asshole. What happened to young people looking up to Superman? What happened to that? Clavicular uses niche manosphere incel adjacent slang, such as the word foid, a word that is commonly used in the incel manosphere community. It is a derogatory word for women and is very commonly found on incel websites. Websites, by the way, that will justify the and murder of women, as obviously a lot of incels believe that women, aka foids, purposefully hold back giving men as a form of punishment. Now, the use of the word foid is something that is commonly used within his community. This is the type of audience that Clavicular's content actually harbors. These are the type of people that you see in Clavicular's comment sections. He's also repeatedly parroted the same ideologies about women losing value after sleeping with a certain amount of men, once again upholding different standards for men and women, as he is captured many times on live attempting to pull women seemingly to sleep with. The whole idea is that the more attractive you get, the more successful you will be in picking up women to sleep with. Now, pickup artists are a type of man in the manosphere that focus on the art of getting women to sleep with, and to me, looksmaxing is the step prior to pickup artistry, or should I say a step that helps pickup artistry, I guess, become more successful.
If you are a girl, you are living in quite literally the best decade of all time throughout all of history to be able to be an obnoxious brat hoe doing nothing and, you know, be able to make hundreds of thousands of dollars doing God only knows what. You know, God only knows. You could be like those, you know, who shake their tits and say, me, like that. You could be that, you know, in 2025 as a woman. You could be that. You could be Demi Seuss or however you say her name. That could be you, okay?
Again, kind of encapsulating this idea that modern women and specifically feminism has fought for us to get to this point of sexual liberation that is actually just OF. And again, don't even open this floodgates, Katie. Don't even open it. I'm not gonna go into that. You guys have let me beat that horse dead. Okay, talking about OF and liberation, right? Yeah, I find it quite ironic that this is the type of content he pushes, that like women have it really easy in this day and age because like women can be only girls. Again, I feel like these people just live in a little bubble. It's like, oh, my whole life revolves around only talking about Western women and Western feminism and my perceptions of Western feminism, completely forgetting that like right now in Afghanistan, you can legally beat the out of your girlfriend or wife providing you don't break skin. Like, I am genuinely sick of these right-wing, red-pilled grifters coming online to spout how it's the easiest time to be alive as a woman just because in your little brain you only think about women in the West. And even women in the West, like, yes, there are a small percentage of OF girls that make an ungodly amount of money. That's not the norm. Maybe, Clav, you're hanging around with a lot of women that do a lot of things for money. Like, you know, birds of a feather flock together. Like, come on, babe, get a new group of friends. But what do you expect when you primarily make looksmaxing content that I guess only shallow women would be attracted to? Like, I don't like it. Just breathe, Katie, breathe.
The way you talk to girls, are you serious?
I just like, I'm sure. You want me to lie? You want me to be like, I could have had you in my car, but I'm just being a straight up guy because that's what I owe you. I could have been.
Why do you even think I would possibly do that?
Because I'm telling you, I know how to talk. I know game, but.
Why do you think all girls would do that?
Because I see the way you're looking at me. You're a cute girl.
No, your ego is crazy.
I'm telling you.
It's crazy that he's saying the way that you're looking at me, like, is proof that you want me to take you into my car so you can suck my nuts. Like, as if she didn't just reject you. Don't you just love it, guys, when you reject a man and then he says, I can tell you want me? Definitely not giving alarm vibes. Like, bro, stop. Again, she's right. The ego is like, maybe, again, I'm not saying that there aren't an amount of people who genuinely might find this attractive. Like, I don't doubt that there are women that like him and fancy him and don't care about his ego. But then he complains about the types of women that he gets in his life. It's crazy. And like, she rejected you, bro. Like, no. And anyone that, by the way, can get approached saying like, oh, I could have you in my car sucking my dick, and actually like likes that, I fear there's some issues going on in your brain if that works on you. Okay, I'm just saying. Not to mention, obviously, the very overwhelmingly, glaringly obvious factor that you're teaching young men to approach girls in that manner when you're just asking for a harassment case. If that's what you're teaching young people, young men and boys, please don't do this.
I'm telling you, once a girl is not a virgin, her value is nothing.
So is a girl with 3 bodies?
Yes. The biggest
the
one body is
the most valuable thing a woman can own is virginity.
yeah, because their brain chemistry completely alters when they have. They're never gonna forget their first body, their second body, their third body. So the more that they acquire, the worse that they get. Once a woman has 1 body, useless. Don't even like consider that.
So you're only marrying a virgin?
Yeah.
I love that, like, the beauty standard for a lot of men, like, what they like is so often rooted in pedophilia. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, hey, what? Like, let's not use the P word around here, okay? But the reality is low-key true. Like, let's consider the things that men want from women, right? No body count, petite, small, no hair, to be quiet, to be submissive, to not have strong opinions, which is another thing that he actually says, which I'll show you in a minute. A lot of factors that, you know, mainly children have. It's very strange, isn't it? It's very, very, very strange. Not to mention the fact that people often use the excuse of, well, of course men are biologically inclined. Like, let's not talk about biological inclination, because when you're talking about men being more attracted to women because it's biology, like, you're forgetting that women are also creatures who want to procreate. Women are also part of the procreation, you know, action. Like, if that was the case, then women would specifically also want young, fertile men who are ready to fertile their eggs, you know? Using like that excuse of, well, it's in biology for men to want like fresh 18-year-olds who are virgins is ludicrous, especially considering, like, I think like fertility is an age thing, not a thing. Again, as someone who has had multiple partners in my life, I also wanted to say the thing about, oh, you don't forget your first, your second. We try and forget. We try, okay? As someone who has had, that didn't make any sense. As someone who has had multiple partners, I'm 23 now, go on, get your out now while you can. I can assure you, we do not think about the first, the second, the third. Like that, like, I wish we could get rid of the thought. I wish we could not remember. I also think this is a harmful narrative. I think it's quite a bad thing to be pushing as well to young men who then might hear this and think, well, I need to find a girl because she's not gonna fully love me because she's only gonna be thinking about the people she's that's complete. And also, why would one standard be the case for women and then not the same be for men? Again, I think he's just clip farming. It's not really the point, though. Many people comment on this, taking it seriously, proving that it doesn't matter whether he's clip farming or he's rage baiting. Like, people perceive this, people receive it, people like listen to it, and people take it in. And young impressionable men, young impressionable boys will parrot this rhetoric, and it has a ripple effect in real society. So it doesn't matter whether it's meant to be a little hee-hee-ha joke. It's not funny, and it's just false. Like, it's not even true. Now, Clavicular has blown up primarily for people mainly discussing the ethics behind what he's doing, the message that he's portraying, how essentially looksmaxing is just glorified SH. I think it's really important to also mainly focus on the audience that this type of content is cultivating. Now, again, falling back on that it's just rage bait and clip farming nonsense, I think a lot of these right-wing grifters, like Nick Fuentes, Myron Gaines, Andrew Tate, a lot of them, they clip farm. That's how you get viral clips. Now, the algorithm loves high intensity shock moments where people are commenting, therefore pushing their videos. Any video I do, any reel I do that is controversial, where people don't like what I'm saying, they always do well because people comment on it. Ironically, then pushing my reel that they hate because they've commented on it. That's how the algorithm works, right? But at the end of the day, he's popular for a reason. In my opinion, he's filled in an element to to the manosphere content on the right. Because, you know, you've got people like HS TikTok who pick up women. You've got people like Myron Gaines who just, you know, comes out with some absolute utter nonsense and pushes the same rhetoric we've seen time and time again. But none of these people have ever really focused on looksmaxing and, you know, how that can get you far. He's filled a gap, so to speak, in the market. Now, I'm no stranger to looksmaxing and pickup artists. That's what he is. He's a glorified pickup artist. I urge you to, again, read the book that I mentioned, Men Who Hate Women. It's actually a very good book, and it goes into detail about pickup artistry and how, I guess, it's portrayed as this harmless technique on picking up women and how men can get women. And in a society where we are dealing with a lot of men feeling misguided and alone, this content can often appeal to them. But the reality is it's very backwards, because this is quite literally a woman repellent. I mean, the average viewer in the looksmaxing circle is a male teenage boy, insecure about looks, lonely and socially isolated, and frustrated with dating or the progress they're making in life.
And as like the Asian mogger, I would have the honor if you could verify me as the Orlando Asian mogger.
Bro.
Honor is mine.
I don't know. You guys are kind of cringe, bro. It's just gonna be real, you know?
So that's a genuine clip. That's not staged. That's completely real. And I found this fascinating. Like, yes, Clavicular, it is cringe. Guess what, buddy? That's your audience. Now, I'm not saying that occasionally, like when you are doing social media, like even I get people commenting sometimes on my things, and like they'll tell me their point of view while saying they love me. And I'm like, oh, we are not like, we don't harbor the same views. But like in Clavicular's case, this is the exact type of person that he should expect. Awkward, cringe, young teenage boys who are maybe not the most intelligent. I mean, because, you know, with all due respect, anyone with an ounce of intelligence isn't going to go up to a streamer and say something like that without, you know, wanting to die. Because I personally, watching that, had such severe secondhand embarrassment that my asshole literally was like pulsating. Like, I cannot deal with that. Clavicular being like, I don't know, that's kind of crit. Yeah, now you know how we feel, buddy.
I don't think I want to rate my fans. Like, I want to, like, actually imagine that my fans are good looking, that you guys are Chad, that you guys are moggers. But whenever I go through the rating section in my Discord, it's like a, you know, brutal reality pill where I'm just like, you know, like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, do you guys not, like, follow any of the shit that I say? Like, I literally dropped so much.
Yes, Clavicular. Of course you are going to look at your audience and think that they're chopped, because that's what you're saying, right? You're attracting insecure boys who probably don't fit the society's expectation of what it means to be an attractive man. But neither did you. You literally, like, you have resorted to physically harming yourself to better your appearance, which is a shallow thing to do. And, like, it's ironic that you then sit there and say that your audience are chopped when you were naturally kind of chopped, otherwise you wouldn't have done all this. Now, in all seriousness, as a conclusion to my video, the message that I think people should be taking from this video, if you are a young person, I'm not saying it's just young men, by the way, that this attracts, but I feel like it probably is. Young men, you will become more insecure, more lonelier, and more isolated from people around you if this is the type of content you consume. It's also important to note that this type of content will not get you women. I think most normal women that aren't superficial, aren't artificial, find this pretty off-putting, pretty dystopian, and pretty, like, arrogant, right? If you would like to pursue real relationships, if you would like to have human connection and make friends and make life progress, first of all, stay in school, right? Get an education, first things first. Clavicular didn't. I just thought I would add that in there. Now, I know that, like, you know, people say that school isn't everything, but it's a baseline. It helps you meet people, it helps you get a good education. And in this society, education is very important. 2, hang out with people, go to events, join clubs, become a better person, advocate for women's rights. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I said it, guys, but genuinely, I feel like, as a rant about the manosphere, that I truly mean this. Like, if you are looking to become a person who women want to be around, then as I think it was, so Cat Black said, I don't believe in sharing my body with men who wouldn't politically defend it. So yeah, that was said by Cat Black, who is a YouTuber. It's not, like, it couldn't be more true, right? If you genuinely want to get somewhere in life and you want to have real connections with women, then don't be someone who sits online and calls women I'm not asking you to be performative, right, by the way. Like, being one of those performative feminist males who only does this because they want women will also not get you anywhere. But a lot of the times you will feel lonely and pushed away is when you reject the ideologies and the narratives that women would like you to, I guess, express. Like, not many women want to sit by and surround themselves and get into relationships with misogynistic people who sit online, say the N-word, and call women worthless when they've got a body count of 1. I find it really fascinating when these ideologies are spread that actually you like have more of a chance of getting women when you do what he's doing, when in reality, if you just become a good person and you advocate for women and women's rights and you don't comment things like, oh, what about, like, on every post when women talk about their issues, you'll get more luck when it comes to getting on with women as a whole than you will doing this type of content. Like, again, just to really reiterate, I'm not asking people to advocate for feminist rights and beliefs just to get their dick wet. That is not what I'm saying, but I'm purely pointing out the irony of people going to these extreme lengths to get women while seemingly being a walking woman repellent, because most normal women don't want to go near men like that. It's so stupid and like illogical. And in terms of the life progress aspect that he's, I guess, pushing and how you get more opportunities and open more doors, there is no denying in conclusion that pretty privilege is a real thing. Just like there's no denying that like fat phobia isn't a real thing. Like, these things are very real. However, you should not be focusing your life around how attractive you are. It becomes very life limiting. And you've got to remember that this clavicular guy, he's going to age, right? And he's going to, by his own standards, go against what is considered attractive as soon as he gets older. And then he's going to be left a nobody because no one will watch his content, with very, very superficial beliefs. Also probably alone because he's limited his options with women to virgins. And people are going to wonder, why did I ever look up to that kid? Anyway, ran over. I hope this video could have been of some use. It's a bit different to my normal video. I've kind of scripted it a bit more. It took me a bit more time in terms of like planning and organizing. So if you could give me a like and a subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. I feel like such a melt bag. Anyway, I was going to make a joke about like mogging, but like it's not even funny and it makes me feel sick. So I'll see you in the next video.